Hey everyone. Okay, I have a little guest helper today. Are you ready? Wonder if you can guess who it is. Do another one.
Welcome to the Emotionally Intelligent Parenting Podcast.
Perfect. That's all you have to do.
Let's go!
Don't get it any else. Okay.
Alright. When are we starting?
Okay, whenever you're ready. Say.
I'm stretching, I'm stressing.
What?
This is in front of like 1,000 people. Welcome to the Emotionally Intelligent Parenting Podcast.
I'm Stephanie Pinto, and I'm a mum of two, best-selling author, international speaker, and award-winning coach. And I love all things emotionally intelligent parenting.
Have we started?
Yes, we have. Although we're far from perfect as parents and kids, our kids still have big emotions from time to time, but meltdowns are few and far between. Listening and problem solving are our go-to strategies when things get tricky, and our home is a really nice place to be. Oh, and our home is a punishment-free zone, and we're only able to do all this because we know how to handle our own emotions and our kids and their emotions and behavior, and we work together to solve problems calmly, respectfully, and as a team. So before we begin, I want to acknowledge the Darug Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I live, work, and record this podcast. I pay my respects to all First Nations people, elders, and ancestors, and I acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded and stand in solidarity towards a shared future. Okay.
Enjoy this week's episode. Here it is.
Let's talk about handling big emotions from your kids. Okay, so I was just interviewed on a different podcast this morning, and this question came up about obviously managing big emotions or strong emotions from kids, things like frustration, anger, of course, fear, anxiety, disappointment, all of those what you'd call uncomfortable ones. I don't like to call them like negative, positive, negative. I just don't like to have that kind of judgment on them. But I'm acknowledging that they are uncomfortable or unpleasant, let's say. Anyway, so handling those from our kids, because I've come to realize that what I now do as second nature is not, it's not how I used to handle my kids' emotions when they were a lot younger and I was a new parent. And the reason that I have kind of morphed and changed the way that I respond in those moments when my kids are upset is obviously a huge part to do with emotional intelligence. And then to a lesser degree, a smaller part of my other work is an anxiety therapist for kids. So I bring in that kind of knowledge as well. And actually, also my background is a speech pathologist. So I used to work with kids with in terms of communication, language, and articulation, all kinds of things like that. So I kind of all bring that together. Anyway, so we had a conversation, me and the podcast host, about handling big emotions. And I thought, you know what, this is something that I'm not sure that I have talked specifically about on my own podcast, and so here we are. So something that I was kind of trying to explain, and I'm going to obviously do my best now, is that I think before we can handle emotions confidently and calmly ourselves, like our kids' emotions I'm talking about, first we have to actually accept that they are, full stop. Like we just have to be accepting of the fact that our kids are going to have big emotions, and that sometimes how I describe it is that our kids are a ball of emotions. Because in any one day, like you guys will know how many times, dozens of times, your kids have emotional experiences that are really big and true and strong for them, and we have to be able to handle, right? So, like I said, now it's something that I do more second nature. I'm more able to hold space. I'm more non-judgmental. Is that like an oxymoron? I'm less judgmental. I'm more non-judgmental, whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I'm as I said, I'm better able to hold space, but I'm also able to co-regulate with them, which means lending my mostly or somewhat, calm nervous system and demeanor and body language and everything that goes with that, lending that to them so that they can feel that calm and that they can trust that, we're going to get through this. It's uncomfortable, or I'm really upset, or something wrong has happened, but we'll be okay, basically. So yeah, like I said before, I really do think before we can learn how to handle big emotions from our kids, we need to be able to accept that they're going to have emotions, and that's really, really, really normal. No matter the age of your child, I have talked a bit before on the podcast about the fact that the brain is still under construction or still being developed right up until the late 20s. So, most of you guys, I'm pretty sure, unless you have grown children, then you're going to be in that bucket just as much as I am. My kids are 7 and 10. So, yeah. I think it's important to kind of point out here that a lot of us were not raised accepting, having our emotions accepted. And so we didn't really learn to accept, particularly the frustration, the anger, the grief, sadness, and disappointment. Those ones, we kind of learned to put them away because we didn't get responded to favorably when we were like that. We were told to get over it, stop being silly, stop being a baby, go to your room, I don't care, like you're being ridiculous, that kind of thing. So we kind of learned, most of us I would say, learned that those emotions were not okay and to put them away. So something I often actually say in presentations, and I remember saying this a couple of months ago back when I was on stage in New Zealand, and I was like, I'm going to let you guys all know this, that emotions are as much a part of being human as having an elbow or a nose or a brain or any other part of your body. That is how normal and natural emotions are. You are built with them. Like, can we stop kind of demonizing this one part of ourselves, right? I'm not embarrassed to have a nose. I don't hide the fact that I have lungs. These parts work for me, right? And I just have to learn how to take care of them and how to kind of work with them. So it's just that emotions, for many reasons we won't get into, have been kind of pathologized, I want to say. So I want you guys to think about, this is something that I haven't really clearly articulated, but I'm just going to test it out with you guys on the podcast. So let me know what you think. I want you to think about, what did you do when your child was learning to walk? And perhaps they were stumbling and falling down, or they went back to crawling, or, it was really hard for them. They were still learning the process of weight bearing and balancing and things like that. What did you do for your child? Did you scoop them up and say, you know what, this is too hard, don't worry about it, we can just crawl forever? Or did you say, you know what, let me fix that for you. I'll put one hand on one leg, one hand on the other, and I'm going to move them right, left, I'm helping your legs to know how to move. Did you do it for them, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Of course you didn't do that, right? You probably gave you supported your child, you gave them time, you encouraged them and things like that, but you knew it was a process. You knew it was going to take a little bit of time for them to learn how to walk independently. Same thing for, I'm guessing, when your child was learning to read, if they've already learned how to read, when they were learning how to feed themselves. When you move on from milk to solids or purees and things, you would kind of help them scoop the food on the spoon, put it in their mouth, and get the right angle and put it in, hit the spot kind of thing. You would probably support them and you encourage them and you help them a little bit, but then you kind of did that hands off, you go for it. And then I'm sure there was puree or spaghetti all over their face and the floor. But it's a messy process, right? You eventually kind of give them that time to just figure it out on their own with some support. Same for, last thing I'm going to pick out, riding a bike. You help them out, but you're not there holding their feet on the pedals, pushing it round and round. You give them some support, and then you trust that it's a process that they're going to have to learn, and it is difficult, and they will fumble and fall off, but then they'll eventually be okay. So why am I saying all this? Is because I think sometimes, or a lot of the time I should say, with another skill, emotional regulation, and is just another skill, right? Handling emotions, particularly those tough ones. We don't give our kids the time to figure it out and to move through and experience those emotions. We kind of want to hurry it up. We want to rush the process. We want to fix it. Sometimes we want to do it for them, right? Sometimes we tell them, it's okay. It was an accident. He didn't mean it. You shouldn't be upset. You should be happy. It's a Christmas present. Why are you being disappointed about, you're ungrateful? Or we prescribe how our kids should feel. We tell them how their feeling is not okay. You get the process. You get the gist, right? So I wonder if we could think of emotional regulation and our kids having meltdowns or big emotions or arguing, right? Even those like sibling arguments, could we not think of them the same as when our child's learning to walk or to read or to ride a bike or to feed themselves? Give them time, be patient, let them go through the process they need to in order to learn. It's like learning on the job, okay? You have to actually do in order to learn. And so I get that, you know what, 2 reasons I think why this is really difficult for us parents to give that time and to allow. Number 1, okay, maybe I've got 3 reasons. It is a long, extended period of time, like we're talking years. We know that even emotions, tweens and teens, we know that even teenagers, tweens and teens still have big emotions. They can be what we would see as, over the top or exaggerating or making a big deal, having a huge reaction over a small thing. Like, I think we don't get how long this skill takes. It is not like reading a book or learning how to ride a bike, which might take a much smaller period of time. So that's kind of one thing. The other 2 I actually had in mind is, number 1, discomfort, and number 2, inconvenience. So it is very uncomfortable for us as parents to see our kids are not happy, basically. When they are not happy and joyful or excited or calm and regulated, when things are not going well, it pulls on our heartstrings. We don't like seeing our kids upset. We don't like seeing them argue. It's uncomfortable for us. And then that's kind of like a feedback loop. I think it's because we didn't experience that our parents or caregivers, held space for us when we were having those emotions. And we quickly learned to put them away and to not have them. So the second thing is inconvenience. I think our whole society and our work and our schools and everything and like deadlines and timelines and all of that pressure, I think all of that sets us up to really feel like we see these emotional expressions as very inconvenient to, let's say you're trying to get ready in the morning and you've got to be at work, kids have to be at school, and your daughter can't find that special toy that she wants for her news, or your son hasn't quite finished that assignment that is due today. Like, there's some emotions there. That's inconvenient. You don't have time for that. School does not allow time for kids to be late because they are having these emotions, right? It's just not a thing. Like, it's really, really not. So I think they're not as valued. Our emotions are devalued and pathologized, and I think our ability to get things done and be productive and tick all the boxes, that is like put on a pedestal. So I feel like we don't realize that letting kids experience and move through these emotions, which takes time and is messy, is actually the platform for developing self-regulation, right? It's actually the way, it's like the foundation skills that they need and the experiences they need in order to later, when their brain is fully developed or developed enough, then for them to be able to regulate and manage those reactions to the emotions on their own without so much help from us. So it's almost like if you think of all the skills that kids gradually pick up with riding a bike, let's go with that example, balancing on the bike, hands on the handlebars, feet on the pedals, they've got to keep their head up, because if they look down, that's how you wobble and fall off. Looking at where you're going, like all those individual skills, like when they're grasping that, that's kind of the same as all these many, 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 many moments of meltdowns or of anger or of arguments or of conflict or of feeling really hurt and left out. Like all those moments are actually paving the way to your child being able to regulate their own emotions. So it takes time. And you have to go through that. You have to allow your kids to go through those in order to then build their skills and abilities, the experiences that have taught them, this is really hard and it is really uncomfortable, but I'll be okay. Like that's where we want to get them to, right? That's emotionally intelligent. This is really hard. I don't like feeling this way. I wish it didn't happen, but it has. and I think I can get through it. So I want you guys to think about, like, next time your child is crying or is stomping or is pissed off or is complaining about something, rather than jumping to the story in your head that maybe you were raised with, i.e. that's being ungrateful, that's being ridiculous, that's being dramatic, like, rather than jumping to those stories, could you just wait and hold space and let the emotions play out? Like, as long as there's no dangerous physical behavior and lashing out, that kind of thing. Like, if your child is just grumpy and mopey, or stompy, or, I'm not obviously saying, I'm not advocating for you to be like a cold-hearted, hands-off parent. Like, well, sucks to be you. Sorry, you're upset that no one came to your party. Like, we're obviously not going to do that. But can we just allow the emotion to be there? And can we just hold space for it? And be like, yep, I get why you're feeling like that. You know what? I think I would too. Or, that's okay that you feel like that. Do you want to sit with me for a bit? Do you want to go read a book? Do you want to go on the computer? I can make you something to eat. What do you need right now? So this actually reminds me, a couple of years ago, I can't remember, maybe 2-3 years ago, I posted a quote on my Facebook community, the Let's Raise Emotionally Intelligent Kids one. And it was a really simple quote that actually somehow out of like the universe got picked up and shared by Janet Lansbury, who, if you haven't heard of her or her work, she's huge in the parenting space, particularly with young kids, babies, toddlers, and things like that. And I don't know how many followers. She reposted that and tagged me, and then kaboom, my Facebook group went from like 5,000 to like 8,000 in a couple of days, and it just kept growing and growing. Hit a tipping point, and now it's at like 120 something thousand. It's crazy. All because I think that was the first. And then other people, other people in the space and influencers and things, found my stuff. So that was exciting. But the quote was, I'm going to see if I can remember it. When emotions are running high, logic and language are low. So in a meltdown, don't try to rush your child. Just wait, just hold space, and just be. And that was so long ago, and I think so many people have reshared it and loved it, and I still come back to it, and I'm like, yes, nothing has changed with that. Because remember, kids actually have to do, it's like learning on the job. They have to do in order to learn. They have to go through these moments without us interfering. If we can just get out of our own way, and if we can get out of our kids' way, most of the time, this sorts itself out. And our kids will wipe their face, hop off our lap, and go back to playing. Or pick up their pencil and finish their homework, or get back on the bike and keep riding. Like, I promise you, most of the time. Obviously, it's not all the time. Sometimes we have to do a bit more work. But if we can, I guess here are some takeaways. If we can learn that our emotions are not these bad, naughty, embarrassing, misbehaving, signs of weakness, things to be hidden. If we can rewrite all of that, and I think that's literally the first or second chapter. I think the second chapter in my book actually is the lessons we have to unlearn. So if you guys haven't read From Chaos to Connection, there's a little sneaky plug. I go through that. I made sure it was right at the front of the book, because I'm like, guys, if you don't get this, then developing emotional intelligence is going to be that much harder. I still have to remind myself of that stuff. I'm like, no, they're allowed to have their emotions. It's not them being ridiculous. It's not them being dramatic. It's not them trying to get their way. They're just having a really hard time because they have not got the cognitive skills yet in their brain to handle this in a more mature way. Because if they did, man, they would. No one likes being a snotty, teary, wet mess on the floor, like upset about this thing. Like, no one would. That there's a flaw in our logic if we think that our kids are like putting it on, right? So it's like learning on the job. You actually have to let them go through these moments, go through these really unpleasant, uncomfortable emotions. Just like be beside them, kind of thing. Metaphorically, but also sometimes physically. Go through it with them. You actually don't have to do any fixing. Most of the time, fixing is actually adding fuel to the fire. Our kids just want to be seen and heard, and like, we get that this really matters to them. So don't fall into that trap of like, the discomfort is too much or the inconvenience is too much. I know that is really hard. But it's something we have to, I think, override again and again until it becomes second nature. And now this is how we deal with things. I would love to know your thoughts on this. That was just a short little episode that I think was, I think I would have a few conversations around things like this. But like I said, this podcast this morning made me really think, you know what? I'm going to record just a short little episode for you guys on it. So I hope you found it insightful and somewhat, I don't know, at least relatable, but maybe uplifting. Like, we don't have to get this right. We don't have to fix, and we don't have to have all the answers. Sometimes we just have to be with our kids through those moments, and that's it. So I love that. I want you guys to stay tuned because very soon my whole brand new website is coming, and it has brand new courses as well. I think there's going to be about 3 or 4 ready to go. I already have some courses on my old website at the moment, but we're getting, I've actually re-recorded, I think 3, if not 4, all new ones because they were just old and the audio and visual quality was bad. And I was like, awful. I just thought, oh my God, I can't believe I kept these for so long. So, and also heads up, if you do have any courses on my website, they're going to like transfer over to the new one. But yeah, that's probably coming out sometime in I want to say maybe the 2nd week of October. So, stay tuned. And if you're listening to this a little bit after when that comes out, maybe mid-October onwards, then please head to stephaniepinto.com, check out the courses section, because there's going to be a few there. You might have access to some. You might have there's going to be a free one, but then you'll see others that are padlocked that you if they pique your interest, then go for it. So obviously all around emotional intelligence. So okay, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Stay safe and look after each other, and I'll see you same time, same place next week.